Daniel here again. In this video, I'm going to walk you through steps that we recommend at St. Paul's Free University um, for when you start up the business side of your online website and online coaching and courses that we're building as part of this group. So before I get into the actual step-by-step, and I'm going to walk you through every step of it that I can here on this video, I'm going to just go through a little bit of the overview. So there's 4 steps that I'm going to take in this video. First is forming the actual business entity, and there's a couple different options for that. And we'll get to exactly what we recommend. Next slide. But then after that, we're going to apply for an EIN from the IRS. That's an employee identification number, which you will need for the third step, which is to get a business banking account. So a business banking account is an account that's in the name of your business. And the reason why we do this is to actually separate the funds and the cash flow of our personal finances from our business finances. And that's really the big reason why we're going through this whole process. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a bit. But lastly, we're going to sign up for a Stripe or PayPal account. In this video, I'm going to do Stripe, but it's basically the same process to do any of those. And what Stripe is, it's a credit card payment processor, and they do a lot of other stuff as well, like Apple Pay and all the cool new ways that you can spend money. But this is the end game. So with Stripe, now we're able to sell courses, sell consulting, bill our customers, have membership sites, all that stuff that works through payment processors like Stripe. So if you've ever looked into starting a business, you've probably heard about all the different types of things you can form. You can form a sole proprietorship or a partnership, and this is really where you're just doing business in your own name. So you're a person doing business, and there's no separation between your assets, the business assets, and really no protection for you legally if anything were to happen. Then the next one that everyone's heard of is a general corporations, often called a C corp, and this is where you have a board of directors and you issue shares, and it's a separate entity, so it protects you to a certain extent from being sued directly if anything were to happen. But it doesn't. But there's a lot more setup to do. You have to file multiple reports. You have to follow the whole process, and if you don't get it quite right, or maybe your legal protection not there. The one that we recommend, the one that's most commonly used from what I've seen in the internet space for us people, smaller businesses, is a limited liability company. And this is kind of the best of both worlds. So as it says in the name, limited liability company limits your personal liability for your business activities, and it separates out your personal life and your business life, which is what we're used to if if you work for a company. But as the owner, you still get a certain level of separation, and you don't have to do all the extra taxes and all the extra filings that go with corporation. There is a little bit of filings that you need to do, but it's much less. So it's a nice in between. Lastly, I'm going to just mention S corp. You may see this around. And S corp is actually not a different type of business entity. It's actually a special tax bracket. And so in this video, I'm not going to go into S corps at all. Whether you would want to file to be an S corp or not is kind of something you would go over with your accountant or at a later stage. At the very beginning, it doesn't matter, and you can always file to be one in the future as a normal corporation or as a limited liability company. You may see that out there. I just wanted to mention it so people don't get confused, but we're going to go with limited liability. So why? Well, there's 4 big reasons why you would want to choose a liability company. And the first one is, of course, the legal protection. Some people just have a single LLC for all their businesses, all their different courses, or whatever they're doing online. Some people even go to the extent of having multiple. So maybe every website or every offering that they have will be owned by a different corporation or a different LLC to insulate everything. I don't know that if you necessarily need to go to that degree, but those are options that people choose. For me, I personally just operate under a single LLC for the time being and just lump all of my business activities like that. The next thing is LLCs are location independent. Because we're running an online business, we don't have to form an LLC in any state because we're serving the entire country. So it actually gives us the option to choose states with more beneficial tax structures, beneficial laws for people doing online businesses. And if we ever decide to move, or you want to take your business on the road, or do a lot of different events around the country, it saves you from having the hassle of necessarily needing to move which state you're registered in. So that's nice to have for what we're doing. Also, it's a lot simpler than doing a full C corporation. As I mentioned before, there's a lot less filings, and it can be a lot cheaper because with C corps, you have to file taxes for the corporation and for yourself separately. So if you have one corporation and then yourself, you're filing 2 taxes a year. 2 corporations, you're filing 3 sets of taxes. But then LLC, it doesn't matter how many you have, just filing your personal taxes. or even if you have partners, the value of the limited liability corporations are folded into personal taxes. So everybody's just doing the same number of taxes as you normally would. And so it ends up being a lot easier to deal with. Also more flexible with, if you do end up growing your business and you want to bring in partners or you want to bring in investors or anything like that, limited liability companies have the option of using articles of formation or operating agreements, which let you write out basically a full contract about how the partnership's going to work, who's responsible for what, who's getting paid for what. And so it makes it a lot easier as you grow to add in new people, and everybody feels like they're covered on a financial basis, and very few unexpected, or a lot fewer unexpected events could happen. So with that said, let's get started and actually form a new corporation. So there's a couple different ways that you could go about forming an LLC. You can actually go to the state and file it yourself with the normal process. There's a lot of people online now that will do it for you for basically very little cost. And if you're going to file in a state besides the one you're living in, you're going to need somebody in that state to act as a registered agent. So for that reason, I recommend you just go with one of the online business formation services like Incfile, INCFILE. That's one that I've used in the past, and they have fairly competitive rates. There's also one that I've been recommended for the state that we're going to choose, which is wyregisteredagent.com. And there's a ton out there, and you can browse, shop around if you want to do that. But if you don't know what you want to do, I would recommend just go with File. I've worked with them before, and it works. It's very easy. And I'll walk you through that, going through that process here. But it's going to be very similar with majority of other providers. So I'm just clicking Start My Business, and one we want to choose an entity type, and that is LLC. Next is state of formation. So everybody kind of has their own favorite state. I know a lot of people use Delaware. You could also just use the state that you're currently in if you want to do that. But for the current status right now, from what we're hearing, is that Wyoming is has fewer fees, and it's got a more favorable tax situation if you're gonna choose a state other than your own. We recommend Wyoming. So for this, I'm going to go with Wyoming. And then you can see in this particular service, they have a bunch of plans with extra things that you can get. So I already looked through all this, and honestly, we don't need any of this for what we're doing, except for we will need an EIN. But I'm going to show you how to do that yourself. So it can save you bucks. So we're going to go with the cheap plan here. Go for the silver plan. And now we just need to fill out our information. So the first thing, my browser's already filled this in for me, is your name, your address, or email address, phone, mailing address. This is all internal, at least with how this service works. This is all internal, so this will not be shown, as they say here. This will not be shown to the public as other addresses later on this process will be. So this is just something, you have whatever your current residential address is. Then they want to know, do you want to spend extra to rush it? I don't think you do, so I'm going to go no. All right, so now you need to choose your LLC name. This needs to be something that's not currently in use in that state. So I'm just going to use one of my business names. That, and you can choose whichever one of these you want. They all just different forms of LLC. I like to use initials, so this is the full official name in the state. Then choosing a business type, I recommend that you go with internet or web-based services, because we're going to be mostly internet-based sales and such. One owner, business purpose. This you only have 100 characters, and it's pretty short, so I just go with something simple like website, blog, courses, their ultimate goal, and online. You can write whatever you want. Are you registering an entity containing word or words in any form of foreign language? No, we are not. Okay, so now you actually need to use a company address. So one option you have is to use your own address here, and you would actually put in something, and you can use a PO box. This address is going to be in public record. Everybody on the internet that knows how to look for it, pretty easy to do, will find this address. So you're more than welcome to go and just use your home address if you want to use that. PO box if you have a PO box, or you want to get one for your business, which is nice to have. I have a separate mailing service just for my business, so all my business stuff gets sent there, and my personal address isn't on public record. Inkfile also will has this option of spending $30 a month to get mail forwarded to their box, which you can use if you prefer. I'll just go with that for now. But whichever one you like to use, fine. So now they're trying to upsell you on the premium service, and we don't need an operating agreement since we're only a single person. Unnecessary. Banking resolution we're not going to need because we're only a single person. Express shipping, it doesn't matter. Business contracts, that's cool, but we don't need that. The only thing we want is EIN, but to me, it's not worth the extra upsell. I'm going to show you how to do that later. So don't click on the big orange one. Click on the little tiny blue one below it that says ourselves. So now you need to list all the members, which should just be you. So if you put in your information before, you can just click done. Now here's another area to watch out for. If you use your real residential address like I just did, this is going to be in the records on the state. And so people looking will be able to find this as well. Some people don't care about that. You can also use the file. You can also use the address that you bought from them. So this will be the same address as the business. If you didn't choose that, you'll have the option to put in your own address. So you can unclick that and just put in a different thing. So if you're using a PO box, I would just recommend using the PO box, the same one as previously. So use whatever address you put in previously. If you want to, I would use that just because I'm not going to actually file for this business. I have all the LLCs I need at the moment. Okay, so now here's a really interesting one. If you're in a different state than you live in, you need somebody in that state who's a resident there to act as your registered agent, which is basically just your point of contact. And this company does have a service in Wyoming for registered agents. And the first year is free. So I would recommend going with that. If not, you're going to have to find a third-party registered agent. But if you're filing for your own state and you want to not have to pay the extra fee, which is probably a good idea, I would just click, I would like to act as my own, and then you would put in the same information. But with this one, you cannot use a PO box. So you actually have to put in your real address. Or if you have an office somewhere, you could use an office. That's why we're recommending opening a business in Wyoming, because they're lower, and then you can use them as a registered agent. You get it free for the first year. Choose that option. So now they're asking again, do you want them to get an EIN for you? You can just spend $70 and they'll do it, but it only takes about 5 minutes. So I'm going to say no again. They're going to keep asking us to add all these extra little bonuses. So the next step, or the third step, is actually get a bank account. And if you don't know where and you want to get the $450 bonus, you can use the deal that they have with Bank of America. Basically, it's yes or no. They're going to have somebody call you, say yes. I'm going to say no just for now. All right, and electronic delivery versus print and send. I rather just print it myself, so electronic delivery, say $bucks. They want to do some kind of consultation. Never mind, I don't care. Do that if you want. Right now they want to try to get you business licenses. We're not going to need that, so click no. Good. So now we're at the end, and they just want you to look over everything and make sure that it's correct, because this is going to be a public record after this point, after you put in your credit card and make the payment. So it actually costs money to fix this stuff after this point, because you have to refile with the state. So it's good to double check that everything is correct. I'm going to hit next. Everything looks good. And then the last step, they want you to pay with a credit card. So you would, I'll go to new here because I already have one on file with them, but you would just put in your billing information, credit card information, just like normal, hit complete and pay. And then in about a week, you'll get an email from them saying that they're done, and you will have a new business. So that's all it takes to form an LLC. I'm going to stop at this point, but make sure you click complete and pay, and then you go. Now, let's talk about EINs. What an EIN is basically a social security number for your business. And it's mostly necessary if you're getting employees. But in my experience, you've always needed one, or I've always needed one to get a bank account. And it's a lot easier to just apply for one right away. And then you have it, print it out, put it in your business records, and whenever you need an EIN, you can have it. I've also needed it for things like credit card processors and PayPal and affiliate accounts and all that stuff. So I highly recommend you just right now. So the way to find this page is I just Googled IRS EIN. And then the first result was this, the IRS's website, apply for an employer identification. Now, this is one of the weirdest websites I've ever used in my entire life because it is only open, which blows my mind, Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. So if you come here, like I did last night, trying to do this, you click apply now, which is what we will now to actually do it. It will say this website is closed. So you guess you have to plan ahead. I don't know why they would do that, but welcome to government. Anyway, they're warning us as a government system. Good for us. And then a bunch of stuff, but let's begin application. So what we're filing for is one for a limited liability company. So that's the middle option. Don't worry about the rest of this. And it goes through what an LLC is. We know because we filed for one. And you can do this before your LLC is fully registered, by the way. So then how many members? Just going to be one of us. Where is it physically located? We're going to say Wyoming because that is where we filed, but you would put whatever state you filed there. It's going to ask you, or it's going to tell you more stuff about you're going to be a disregarded entity. That's fine. So basically, there are ways to where you could have an LLC file its own separate taxes. But the way I'm showing you is just the default way where the LLC is not a separate taxed entity. So the IRS doesn't care about it, but they're still going to give us a number that we can use when we're filing for bank accounts and all. Now it's asking for the reason. And the reason we're going to do is start a new business. Then now you need to tell about who you are. So your full name. And you need your actual social security number. And so I'm going to hide that when I put that in. But then after that, we're going to choose which one are you. I am one of the owners or members or the managing member of this LLC. So I'm the person who, I'm going to take this away and just type in my social security number because a fake one doesn't work. I've tried this before and I'm going to hit continue. All right, perfect. Now we're on the next stage, address. So this is the business's address. So if you got the address service from your ink file, you're going to need to look at the email that they send you and use the address that they put. You have a PO box. Yeah, I guess that you can't use a PO box with, which is a little obnoxious. So I think the best way to handle this is actually just you don't have a real address somewhere, is to just put your own address on if you only have a PO box. A little unfortunate, but that's what you have to do with this one. Then if you want to just have a separate mailing address for your PO box, that yes or no. I'm going to go no with this. And it says double check my address. That's fine. So now we're going to put in the business information. So business, including the LLC at the end. DBA, we don't have one of those. We're just using the LLC's name. What county is it in? So this would be, again, the location of the address. So if you got an address from InkFile, then you would put that there. I believe if you put your own personal address as the business location, as far as IRS is concerned, you're going to need to the same information again that you put there. So I'm going to leave it like that because it figured it out. Now it says what state or territory where the articles of organization will be filed. So that for us is Wyoming. Again, put the state where you actually filed it with. LLC start date, whatever month you're currently in. So for us, it's September 20. Bam. All right, so now it's asking us about how we run our business. You have a large motor vehicle? No. Gamble in your business? No. Need to file a quarterly federal excise tax return? Point no. You sell, manufacture tobacco, alcohol, or firearms? I do not. Do you have any employees who receive a W-2 in the next 12 months? For us, no. If you do plan on having an employee, then yes, and there's a bunch more questions you'll need to fill out, but I think most of us are not going to do that. I was asking what type of business are you in? And for us online, I'm going to say other. Continue. Then again, it's asking you what kind of business are you in? Now, if you're primarily going to be doing coaching, you may want to choose consulting, but I don't unless, you know, if you're following the plan that we set out, which involves setting up a website and the course and all that stuff, I'm just going to put other and then online or webs like that. Go. So then finally it's asking you, do you want them to send it to you digitally, or do you want to actually get a letter? And I don't know why you'd ever want to do a letter. I would just hit receive letter continually and then hit continue, and it'll give you the option right away, and also email you, I believe, a copy, like a printable PDF of the letter that they would have sent you, which has your EIN on. So you're going to get your EIN right away. I'm not going to click continue here because that's all made up stuff, and I don't want them to actually file for that. So that was step 2. Now we have an EIN, and then eventually in a week, we're going to have our business information. You need to wait for both of those to be ready before you're able to go and apply for a bank account. So I'm not going to go through setting up a bank account here because I think everybody has already done it. The only tips I recommend is get everything that InkFile gives you, all the file documents, everything that came back from the state, which they should send you in an email or a link to it in your email, as well as the EIN they got from the IRS. Take all that, print it out, put it in a folder, and then go either to an online place like this, like Bank of America, if you want to use the one that InkFile, the little deal that they have, or if you want to go to your own bank that you already bank with personally. I find that a lot of times when you're doing a bank account for a business, it takes a little more doing than a personal one, and you may actually either have to talk to somebody on the phone, even if you're doing it online, or you may have to go in person to make it work. But it's basically the same process as filling out a normal, not filling out, but signing up for a normal bank account, except you're going to be using your business's EIN instead of your social security number, and you'll be doing it in the name of your business instead of your personal name. Even though your personal name will be on the account, and a name on the account will be. So assuming you did that, and assuming everything's done in a couple of weeks, we're going to move on to the final step, which is actually setting up a Stripe account. So I'm going to go to stripe.com. The Stripe is, again, what allows us to take credit cards and take payments of all kinds. It basically allows every kind of payment except for, let me see if it shows a list here. Well, GPay, Apple Pay, all that stuff, all the cool new ways of doing it with your phone and such, as well as normal credit cards. It basically takes everything out there that I've ever seen except for PayPal. And you can sign up for a PayPal separately. It's basically the same process. So I'm just going to show Stripe how they do it. So to do that, it's a little hard to find, but on the bottom left here, you would hit start now, dark color, at least how this is currently set up. And first choose an email. So I'm going to use my business hypothetical company that I set up, but you can use a personal one if you only have a personal email. They will check this email, by the way, or they're going to send you an email as part of this process. So make sure it's correct. Otherwise, we'll have to go in and do it again. Then I'm going to that, and then the password. Browser just recommended that one, so I'll use that. Seems fine to me. Save that password for later. And so Stripe actually puts you right into a test account, and you can actually start integrating with your website and all that right away. But I'm going to go actually through how you get it set up. At this point, you would not be able to actually take payments with this account. You have to do a couple of verifications. The first thing you want to do is click verify your email. And they have sent me a link, so I'm waiting for that to come in. It is, so pull this up onto your screen. So it's just a little verify your email address from Stripe or to stripe.com. So I'm going to just verify. No. Bam. So we're in here and open a new web page, and it shows this email is verified. So good to go. Okay, previous one. Now let's activate the account. So I click there, click start now. And again, we're just going to basically fill out the information that we have about our business. So business address in the United States. Now this is the legal address of the business. So if you have a PO box, use that. If you have the one that's InkFile provided for you, use that. If you're registering and all for your personal address, use that. I'm just going to throw an address in here to get to the next step. And then the default is of the business type is individual sole proprietor or single member LLC, which will be you. If you have a partnership LLC or any number of other members, you would just choose normal LLC. But single member is a lot easier to deal with, and that's what most of us are going to start with. I'll click next on that one. Now business details. So this is your name. I'm going to have my thing fill it out for me automatically so we can speed through this. But my name, my email address, date of birth, I'm going to bake there. And this is your personal address. You could use the PO box again if you have a PO box, something like that. And your social security number, last four, I'm going to make something up. Use a real one, by the way. I'm just making up fake information, but you would want to put in your real date of birth and your real security number because they are going to check that before they allow this account to go active. Next, business details. So what is your industry? I'm just going to go at web, online. So here. Education, that's a good one. Yeah, I believe I put other educational services, since most of what we're doing is courses, blogs, informational blogs, and stuff like that. That seems like the best one on here. If you're doing something slightly different, you might be able to find something else. What this is going to do is it's actually going to help them determine how long they're going to hold funds. So with credit card processors, they always have a certain number of days or weeks or sometimes even months where they hold incoming funds in their account where you can't withdraw from it. That way, if somebody who paid with their card ends up canceling that payment or losing their card or something and the payment gets reversed, then they still have the funds to cover it and the account doesn't go negative. So more risky types of, or industries that tend to have more chargebacks are going to get held longer. But educational services is a fairly safe one, and it's really what we're doing, so that's a good one to go with. If you have a business, they definitely want a business website. So if you've already started your blog, which you should have been, I would put that. So for me, it's off-grid culture. And they're asking what you're doing, so we provide articles, books, courses, coaching services. Next. You can change this to fit whatever you're doing, but that's a pretty generic product description, fulfillment. Since the majority of what we're doing is going to be ebooks, e-courses, they're going to get it the same day. So we're going to put 1 day here. If for some reason you were planning on selling a lot of actual products, you would probably want to put within 2 weeks. But 1 day works for us. Now it's asking what you want people to see on their credit card statement. So I'm going to get rid of the .com and just put off-grid permaculture. Now later on, when you're actually doing specific courses and specific products, you can change that, what the person sees on their credit card statement, to fit that specific thing. But as a general one, that's what this is going to be. Now they want a shortened one, so I'm going to put off-grid perm. Can't even put the M, so off-grid per, that's good enough. And then this is your business phone number if you have one. You need to put something there, and this actually goes on their receipt, or if there's any issues that they want to charge back, this is the number that the company is going to tell them to call. So later on, you may need to change this, but for now, you can just put your own number, and then when you actually are doing business, you can get a business number, a digital one. This is actually my digital number that is I just use for business. And then customer support address, again, they're going to see this. So I would put your PO box or the box, or then the address you got from InkFile if you did that. Or if you're just using your personal address, put your personal. Again, customers will see them. So banking details. So this is the number, or these are the banking numbers where they're going to send payments to once you start getting money. So this is very important to do. And it's very important that when you're accepting money for the business, it goes directly into a business account, not into a personal account. So you're going to need to have your business account set up when you do this, unless you're deciding to do full proprietorship, in which case you can use whatever account you got. So if you have a check, it's super easy just to take the numbers right off the check. If you don't have a check, you can go and look up the routing number online and then just look up your account number on your statement or whatever paperwork. Let's look up a bank routing number. Example. So here it is. Load. There we go. So Umpqua Bank's routing number is this. So I'm going to copy paste it in. Depending on your bank, you can either just look it up again. Like if you look up Bank of America routing number, that one I tried before, and it actually depends on what your account is. So you have to go into your online banking account and check specifically. But other banks, smaller banks like Umpqua and local credit unions, they only take one. So if you just search bank name, routing number, it usually is the first option. So account number, I don't have an account that I want to hook up to this, so I'm going to put a fake number, but make sure it's the real one. And they want you to confirm me. All right, and lastly, they want you to have two-step authentication, which basically means they're going to text you, or you can use an app on your phone when you log in to make sure that it's actually you. It's just a safety thing. A lot of banks are doing this now. So you get to choose which one you want. I'm just going to use SMS and give them my business phone number or whatever phone number you have that it can accept text. I'm waiting for the text to come in. There it is. So my code in the text I got is 280008. Enough. Now it's saying you can download this special code or whatever. And if you ever lose your phone or something happens where you can't use two-step, you can use this number to get in too. So this is just as important as a password. They allow you to either copy it or download it. Download real quick. So now I've got it saved in a file on my desktop, and make sure you write that down or do something so you know that you can get to it if you ever need, because it's always the worst time when you lose your phone or something. And if you're actually doing business with this account, you wouldn't want to be locked out of it for a lengthy period of time. You can call them, I believe, get it fixed, but that's a lot easier just to have this. So click done. Next, we already set that up. Now it's looking over everything, reviewing, then you would hit done. And then it takes about a day for them to actually go through this and to verify everything that they want to verify and get your account good to go. I'm not going to click done because, of course, this is all native information. But that's basically the whole process. That's all 4 steps. That's forming an LLC, getting an EIN from the IRS, opening a bank account, and then getting your Stripe account. So with this, later on, I'll make videos on how to actually integrate this with your sales platform. And within however long it takes you to get things set up, we're basically ready now to start taking payments directly for the services that you offer right into. That's an awesome thing to do. One last thing I'm going to mention is if you decide that you don't want to spend the money to form an LLC right now, are there any other options? And the only other option is to form, or not to form, but to get a DBA. So since we're in Washington, I pulled up that site here. And this is how you do that. So what a DBA is, a doing business as. And you would need to get it if you're going to be doing business under a name that is not your full name. And so I actually looked at the laws on this in Washington. It varies state by state, but it tends to be roughly the same, which is you need to use your last name and then some of one of your other names. So either your first name or your middle name or your middle initials, or first and middle initial, or just first initial, something like that. That needs to be in the name of your business if you don't want to file anything in the state. You can just legally say, like, I could be Daniel Schwartz Permaculture, and then I wouldn't have to file anything. You're still being a sole proprietor, so in which case you wouldn't be protected legally, but you wouldn't have to file for anything. Now, if you want to do something different, like I'm operating under off-grid permaculture, you don't have that as an LLC, then you would need to file for a DBA with the state, whatever state you're currently in. And it does cost money, about $20 plus $5 per each name that you want to sign up for. And then after you get a DBA, you're actually able to get a bank account in that name, and you would do the whole process again through that route. So if for some reason you just didn't want to do an LLC, but you still wanted to have a website name or a different, do business as a person that isn't your full name, this is an option. Once again, not a recommended one. So that's it. That's the whole process of getting your business back end started, and we're ready to go and actually start making some sales.